We've largely moved past the body positivity movement at its peak, but I think that what we can do from here is a retrospective on how it came to be in the first place and why was body positivity so appealing specifically to the millennial generation that grew up before its heyday, and what kind of media were they exposed to that had them believing we needed to accept everyone as beautiful at any size. And it comes down to the media that they were exposed to in the 90s and in the early 2000s, many examples of which that we're about to show you. But it reminded me of a recent photo shoot from Bella Hadid, where she is in this video gasping for air during this photo shoot. She looks emaciated. Her hip bones are showing. Her ribs are showing. And a lot of people commented on this saying, you know, this is why we cannot allow ourselves to accept the prior body standards of the 2000s and the 90s, the heroin chic aesthetic, because this is dangerous. But the caption says, this is Bella Hadid during an ad. And they commented, ad for what? A hospital? Someone give her the rest of that almond. They're joking about how her mom would give her tips for controlling her weight as a model. She said, if you're hungry, take an almond and just chew it really slowly. Yeah.
Okay, no, the ad goes on.
Stop romanticizing women extremely skinny, exhausted, and suffering. This is really disturbing to watch. What is the ad for? Anxiety medication? Whatever this is an ad for, I don't want it. So she is acting, to be clear. This is not how she's actually behaving in her daily life. But you can't argue with the fact that this is still the widely accepted supermodel physique, you know, to be clinically underweight. And that hasn't entirely been eclipsed by the body positivity movement. But I think that...
Like, what is going on?
What's in order?
Is that like a perfume ad? What the hell was I just watching?
It probably is.
It is like those artsy
or
perfume
Balenciaga
or cologne ads.
Probably Balenciaga, if I had to guess. But what's in order is, I think, looking back at some of the examples of the way that women's bodies were talked about in media, especially in reality TV, back in the 90s, in the early 2000s, to understand why women were radicalized into the body positive cult.
I'm sorry, but before we get into this, I love the way that extreme neurosis has been turned into a fantastic business model for entrepreneurial women. It says, follow this account for more body image content.
Yeah, and people are going to profit off of it just the same. But this says, was 90s or 2000s body shaming really that bad? Here was the evidence
Jessica
that she
Simpson
provided.
You are a little fuller, a little bit more thicker. And how do you feel about the fact that maybe the thickness may hinder you from, you know, getting certain parts and doing certain
Nicole
things?
Richie.
Give you a dime for your face, your body, you know, your face and your personality make up for that extra 7 to 10 pounds you can probably get rid of.
Sound nice but look like a shop girl. That's the problem.
I'm overweight,
You
basically.
are. You really are.
I'm working on it.
The way you dress and stuff, I don't think you're aware that you're a heavy-set woman. That's what I said.
I know Nicole Smith.
How is that possible? I have been reliably told that man is just a paragon of virtue these days.
Yeah. So I was guessing your weight. And I was going to say to you today, can you please get on the scale and then we'll have an over-under. That's all.
Is your weight back to normal?
Yeah, it is.
Can I check? Do you mind?
Oh no, you did this to Jerry, didn't you?
Is that Victoria
Jerry
Beckham?
Yep, it is.
That really small.
Yeah, but it's all right.
This is horrible.
She thought it was really beautiful, Kenya, but I hate to say it. They had to do a lot of body work on you and retouch.
At home, pretty much, I try to, eat right. And when we come here, my towels, everything is thrown off.
Stop! If you're sporting a gut, then you turn to the side and disguise it.
I think it's all about choices.
See, women can do that instinctively now.
You can get a burger and take the bread off. I make it work when I have to.
Thank you.
There was Tyra Banks giving one of the contestants on America's Next Top Model some advice. Just get a burger and take the bun off. You know, that's how you become a size 00.
Here's the thing, though. I've heard that same advice from pro wrestlers when they're talking about staying in shape and when they're on the road. I remember a clip of Stone Cold Steve Austin saying I go to McDonald's and I get a bunch of double cheeseburgers. I just take the bun off.
Okay. Yes, I think that we can be a little nuanced because if you're on a show that is casting for supermodels, there is a different requirement. But one of those clips, at the very least, was a contestant on American Idol, a singer. Okay, so if this singer is getting reamed by Simon Cowell for being overweight, even though that has nothing to do with her singing ability,
I mean, it does. If
that
it's part of
probably
the, if
speaks to a different culture at the
if
time.
it's the marketing, it matters. They're like, look, we don't have room in our lineup anymore for like another Adele. So.
Well, that was pre-Adele, actually.
So like, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's like, sorry, we only have room for one fat person
And since then,
per
Adele
record
has,
deal.
Adele has become skinny
Yep.
in more recent times. But there is another clip from America's Next Top Model in 2003, and it says, reasons why millennials obsess over food and their bodies. It's probably, as they say, because these millennials were watching shows like this and imbibing a certain message from it.
It must be hard being among girls who are so skinny.
Felt a little bit bad for Robin because she is the bigger up down here in the hips and thighs than the rest of us.
Okay, Robin. Now, are we shooting for the large size category?
Yes, Robin would represent a plus size model.
One problem that I do have with Robin, I think on the top she's not plus size, and on the bottom she is.
Robin?
Robin's out as far as I'm concerned about being a supermodel.
Definitely not. This girl should not be the first one.
Well, that's my
I noticed it say supermodel and not model. Like, yes.
Right, because I think next America's Top Model is not a plus size model. I'm sorry.
For Robin, it must be hard.
And if you look at how that
Where's
woman,
Adrienne Curry
Robin,
when we need her? In the
yeah,
chat?
exactly. But when you look at that model, Robin, in her photos, this would never, ever in a million years code as plus size in current day. That would just never cross anyone's mind. There was another clip from a reality show on CMT back in the day. They were casting cheerleaders for the NFL, and this girl was told that she needed to get her weight under control to be considered in her audition.
She's going to frustrate me because her biggest battle is going to be to tone up and lose weight, and she's not losing any weight, and that's starting to show. And that's frustrating for me because I like her style of dance.
Tell you our initial concerns, and you would need to tone your tummy midsection.
I'm aware of that. I've been working on it. Thank you.
Okay. That's the area of concern. How realistic is that for you? I mean, are you on your thinner side right now?
No, ma'am. I'm a little bit heavy.
Okay.
I'm constantly working towards, the washboard abs and everything. I'll get it done. Thank you.
I don't know. I'm kind of I'm just a little bit tired. I just, again, need to work on the weight, which is when I can get that done.
Call Jay. Jay is never hesitant to meet up with you to work out, because obviously, the uniform. You have to. If she's on you about your weight, you want to take care of it now and not wait.
So you see that other girl is responding by giving her advice on how to lose the weight. The most striking difference between the reactions in these clips and what you would see today is that the women receiving this criticism actually agree with it. And they're saying, like, I promise I'll work on it. I'll get it done. I'll lose the weight. I'm so sorry for being a size 4, whatever. And these days, in a situation like that, it would never be said in the first place, obviously. But if it ever came to that, the women in these shows would be like, no, fuck you. I'm beautiful at this size. I'm beautiful no matter what. I would be beautiful if I were 300 pounds because of who I am on the inside, and I'm a strong bitch. So it's just interesting to see that they reacted to it. They were essentially receptive to the advice that they were getting, even when it was put in a very jerk, like it was not put in a way that was charitable to them. At the very least, they were getting yelled at, they were getting insulted, they weren't even given constructive criticism. It was just like, you're fat and you'll never make it in this industry, whatever industry it may be.
Yeah, I mean, especially cheerleading though, that's an aesthetic business for them.
Yeah, I mean,
like there's
They commented, shocking. A job that's defined by beauty standards is harsh about beauty standards? Like, wow. But the question at hand is, should that be the beauty standard? Because when you look at the girl in the clip, she's not chubby. She's definitely not overweight, but she's not even bordering on overweight.
Yeah.
So were we as a culture collectively incorrect to have such an extreme standard in the first place? And is that why the body positivity movement turned into the, pun not intended, behemoth that it was in the 2010s? Like, you could argue that perhaps the body positive movement was reacting in kind to toxic beauty standards that existed in the 90s and in the early 2000s, and it was inevitable that there would be a backlash.
I think of it more as it gives in to a culture of decadence and turned its marketing another direction. There's money to be made, money flows, and they just found another way to make money. Like, I guess you could say that, but that type of introspection came... It didn't just come naturally. Like, it had to come from somewhere. And these businesses, much like a lot of the Fortune 500s had to start marketing differently after the crash in 2008, and start selling you on some type of virtuous means to shop at their business. There's just other ways to make money off people, and this was just that direction in which it moved.
And a lot of these media outlets and fashion magazines and products sold mostly to women caught on to how popular body positivity could be.
Well, think about all the money that can be made off weight loss products, but think about how much more somebody could make money off you if it requires zero actual effort on your part. Like, why sell them a weight loss program that they might try and then give up when you can sell them like form-fitting clothes that pack in your fat gut?
I just don't understand why it has to be all or nothing, you know? Why do we have to veer toward one extreme or the other? Why does it have to be
there's
either
nothing,
heroin chic or, Lizzo? Why does it have to be between these polar opposite extremes in the first place? Why?
The middle has no coding. And I'll tell you, the same is true of political ideology for the most part, which is that do the people with nuanced takes get lots of attention? No, it doesn't play well for copy. It doesn't do well for headlines, and it doesn't do well to grow an audience. You want to reach an audience by having the most insane takes, and then perhaps you work your way back to the middle. But most of the time, it's whoever can come up with the headline that speaks to the worst aspect of a person's psyche. And for fashion and things like that, it plays to the extremes. What does everything else code as? Now, I would imagine there are plenty of models who look normal. They're doing drug commercials. They're doing commercials.
They're not making as much money as Bella Hadid.
And they're doing commercials for Swift jets. Right. That's what they're doing. They're not models. They're models of a different type.
They're more like commercial.
They're not fashion models. They're not looks-based models. But how many, what do you see more commercials of? The stuff we're watching here, or somebody who's selling some type of vacuum? You see way more of that. Go on any streaming service with ads, and it's all stuff about buying stuff for the home or cars. You don't need a supermodel to hand somebody a pair of car keys and get in a car.
Yeah, that's true. I guess that comes down to the whole discourse about representation. You're going to see plenty of representation of diverse body types, of people who are not overweight or underweight, if you just watch commercials for products. If you're looking at an ad for for like Gucci or Balenciaga, you're not going to see average people represented in those ads, because they're not advertising something to the average person. They're advertising something to the upper echelon of consumers.
I made the joke like a couple years ago, we went to I think it was when Tim was buying a pool table, and they went into the store that sells like the pool tables and the jacuzzis, and it was just all middle class. It was all the people in the pictures were just upper class looking white people. Now it might have been because they just had.
There was never a boardroom dedicated to diversity in pool table ads.
That's what it was, I was like, but that could have been because they haven't updated their ads in a while. or it could have been because there's a certain amount of like market research about who's spending the money on this stuff in America, and that's where it goes.
Yeah. I guess if we do have
That's
to
not
pick,
bigotry, it's capitalism.
if we have to pick between two polar opposite extremes, I guess I would say that the 90s or 2000s beauty standard is preferable to the one that has been forced on us for the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah, like I said, there's
If we had to pick one
there's no middle
toxicity
ground.
instead of another type of toxicity, I'd prefer the one that encourages people to be hot.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.